It's time to talk about the very worst comic book of the week. We predicted X-Men Annual #1 from Steve Fox was going to be absolutely unreadable. Here to talk to me about that is Doc. How you doing, Doc?
I am wonderful, sir, and this book was fucking terrible. Well, not terrible, just bland and bland and insulting and absolutely everything we expected following that Steve Fox interview with Adventures in Poor Taste a week or two ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say he put his money where his mouth is. All the stuff that made him kind of look stupid in that interview kind of creeps in here and makes him look stupid in the comic book.
If you could have taken that interview and overlaid it on top of the plot of this comic, it was a 1-to-1 match. Everything about the Firestar not being a fascist cop and, you know, her connection with the Avengers and her not real big defining run with the X-Men up until now, all the way until the end of the interview with graduating, you know, and maturing to the point where you're a member of the Borg. Every single thing he covered in that interview was the plot of this fucking comic.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. Let's start out with some of the stupid stuff that you just see pretty much in the beginning. We do see the original Hellions in their costumes. They look really bad because I don't think the artist wanted them to look cool. But worse than that, instead of going to old school Iceman, they're doing new super gayed up Iceman again. Why does the character look like this? I thought that was just for those stupid digital comics. He looks absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I guess this is his new look again, even though everybody said, no, that's not his new look. That's just for these digital comics that are YA. No, we knew it was the minute that they introduced fucking Shota Lolly Iceman for preview art. We knew that they were going to adopt that into the comic because they have to make him look absolutely twinky as hell. And I think they got called on the fact that all he did was show up and scream, "I'm gay" at the reader. So now he just has to appear gay to the reader all the time.
Yeah, he doesn't need to tell you. Like, it's apparent.
Everyone on the planet knows that man is gay.
Another big issue with this comic book to me, Doc, is there's not really a story to tell. Or at least there's not enough story to warrant like 20 or 30 pages. It's supposed to be Cyclops and Firestar kind of going out there and doing an investigation and her kind of coming to grips or to terms with being a part of Krakoa now. But that's not enough of a story. Apparently he doesn't actually know how to show character progression or actually tell a good, engaging story. So we end up getting pages upon pages of just filler nonsense. Like there's one where like, what's going on? And they show these stupid villains and they all have like little gay jokes, including Iceman talking about Bi Beast or whatever. And we're getting this stupid side adventure where they're fighting stuff that has nothing to do with the main plot whatsoever and really never ends up being anything other than filler throughout the comic book. This is Steve Fox's one chance to write an X-Men comic. And he didn't go out and grab it by the balls. He didn't go out there and tell a cool story.
It's typical modern X-Men fashion where anything that was an actual threat, they have to dispatch in one goddamn page to tell some stupid slice of life story on some D-list character nobody gives a shit about. Drugs at this hospital is somehow a bigger threat than these other 3 or 4 actual big threats, all while the two main characters of the story struggle with the easy job.
Well, and those little side things that are interspersed throughout the story mean nothing to the story.
No, they serve no purpose.
No, I guess it's just to throw some action in there, and then Spider-Man just shows up for no reason. And then Sync can steal Spider-Man's powers, I guess. That kind of makes...
Yeah, Sync's powers have never been to copy non-mutant powers, but apparently now it is because reasons. Oh wait, yeah, I guess after his 1,000 years in the vault, he was able to copy the children of the vault's powers, so why can't he copy Spider-Man's powers? He can just copy everyone's powers everywhere all the time now.
Well, and Steve Fox finally got to tell the story he was wanting to tell. And it's about like, I guess he's making a point on healthcare. She's talking about when she had cancer or whatever. And I guess she didn't have her powers. And I'll say this, Firestar's powers and what she can do with them are completely undefined. I don't even know what she's capable of. Know what's worse, Doc? I don't know what she's not capable of. I think in the hand of Steve Fox, Firestar can probably do anything. Getting back to the healthcare thing, that was a little mini rant. She says, I recognize some of the names of the drugs. You beat cancer before we had Krakoa medicine. She says, I never liked the word beat. Nothing worse than someone using a turn of phrase that is absolutely accepted all throughout society to have some lame-ass millennial throw it in your face and be like, I don't like it when you use that word. It implies people who don't make it could have fought harder. I was like, oh my God, I want to stab myself in the testicles. You could just see what a lame motherfucker this Steve Fox is.
He is the kind of person that throws a temper tantrum when you use the term rule of thumb. The man is a fucking killjoy through and through, and it's very evident here. And then after he talks about how he doesn't like the phrase beating cancer, he talks about how how Firestar was so privileged to have such a great
support system.
Yeah, and
healthcare.
And he's talking about how it was irresponsibly great support system. Like what? They were spending time with you instead of spreading their support around to absolutely everyone. Bitch, they're your friends. They don't just help everybody randomly. They don't go and sit by the bedside of every single person on the planet. They help their friends. That's the purpose of having friends. I swear to God, these comics are written by people that have never had a friend in their life.
I believe that. Another thing that's really bad about this comic book is the humor. The only jokes that Steve Fox can tell are gay jokes. Josh will tell gay jokes, and they're actually pretty funny because he's actually taking the piss. This guy tells gay jokes, and they're not funny at all. There's no humor to be had. He tries to tell like 9 or 10 jokes, and they're all as unfunny as the last one. Here's the worst one, in my opinion. We have magic. Then they can meet us in the Green Lagoon. As long as we deactivate this android before Drake starts up on his stand-up routine. Bobby says, I resent that. I would never mock Bybeast for living his truth. Oh, wow. What a great one-liner.
Oh, God. Every single joke in this is the most low-hanging fruit pun. I don't even care if Steve Fox is actually an American.
He's Canadian. He has to be. There's no way he's American. He's got Canadian sense of humor.
Yeah, there is no way that he is. He's got to be a Canadian, because if he isn't, we're sending him to Antarctica. Get out of my comics and do not do this. You were as bad as Chip Zdarsky up until halfway through his spectacular Spider-Man run.
Chip Zdarsky was not funny at all, but Steve Fox is less funny. He thinks he's got a thing, but it absolutely does not work whatsoever. And then when we finally get the 2 stars of the book, where they're supposed to be the stars of the book, they're doing the least interesting stuff possible. They finally get to the hospital and they discover the drugs are in a vein or whatever. And we finally get another social message or whatever. Cyclops says, you stashed the stolen drugs in an unmarked van. God, you're an idiot. You're a mutant too, aren't you? You could have taken the amnesty deal and started over. Lot of good that'd do me when some bigot with a nuke decides your little island is too big for its bitches. Or isn't that why you stay so buddy-buddy with all the human heroes? Red? God, I'm so tired of hearing about bigots and stuff in comic books. They never make it seem interesting. It's always just like the most boring, on-the-nose stuff whatsoever.
Back in the day, whenever they do the bigotry bit in X-Men, they had a little more tact. Everything at this point is at that Tom Taylor mustard and bigotry level. Honestly, it's lost every amount of power and importance in the storytelling. There was an actual interesting thing they could have done with some of those lines there, where you find out that Firestar is actually undercover working for the Avengers to see what's really going on in Krakoa, because the Avengers don't trust the X-Men or something like that. But that's just a throwaway line. They have no intention of actually doing something interesting with it, because if it's not completely surface level, as shallow of storytelling as humanly possible, none of these writers are even capable of doing it. They almost accidentally hit some deeper storytelling from time to time, but never really get there.
Well, we get there by the end, because she confronts the Hellions, who were not nice to her earlier, questioning how she could turn over to be part of Krakoa when she had not joined for so long, as if other mutants hadn't been on the X-Men before. And she finally gives her big speech, Doc. She is no longer an individual. She is a part of the Hive now, just like Steve Fox admitted he's part of the Hive now. He grew into it, and now, according to him, so is Firestar. I had my own reasons for coming and going, but I get how it looks from the outside. I don't expect open arms. I just want the chance to show I can put in the work. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not running away when things get hard. I'm going to stand side by side with you to protect the island and our right to live in the world. And everyone cheers her because she's given away her own agency, has become part of the board, just like Steve Fox. That's the message of the story. Give in to the group.
Like, I feel like he believes that this is actually an achievement to just sacrifice your individuality. I mean, but then again, you know what? He's probably just another X-Men writers that's nothing but a broke communist anyway. And I feel like he's horribly misguided and really, really, really dumb.
I would agree with that. And I don't think he has a future in comic books, let alone X-Men comics. He's just kind of, moonlighting there until we get an actual leader in charge of X-Men that really wants good writers to come in and tell good stories. Until then, X-Men will be the place where squatters like Steve Fox, who have no business whatsoever working for DC and Marvel, go and they hide and hope no one discovers just how awful they are at comic book writing. That is our review of X-Men Annual 2022. I wish we could have given you happier news during the holiday season, but Doc, this comic book just sucks.
Yeah, but hey, at the end, he did get to take a shot at longtime X-Men readers using Mojo during one of those one-page wastes of space, wondering why Mojo was still so obsessed with the roster of the team that happened to be the roster of the team during its biggest heyday from about issue 101 through, 220 or something. But sure, got to take a shot at the X-Men readers for that. Only a roster that lasted 120 issues.
Doc and I mentioned earlier in the video that there was an interview with Steve Fox last week talking about this comic book. We talked about the interview and we're wondering why the hell this guy is even writing for X-Men. It doesn't feel like he's qualified. And the points that he made were pretty stupid. It was more in depth than we were able to get here. If you haven't seen this video about Steve Fox, once you see it, you'll know why this comic book was absolutely trash. Definitely check this out if you don't see it here. There's also a link in the video description.